Before we start today's show, Chat Sports will be live for the 2022 NBA Draft on Thursday, breaking down every single selection over both rounds. Will you be joining us? The most watched draft coverage on YouTube. Type H for hell yes, and if you're not, type L because you're lame and you're a loser. Hopefully you join us. It's going to be a party Thursday, NBA Draft. Make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/chatsportstv. And with that, let's take a look at all of the latest Warriors offseason rumors for the champions. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. An absolutely stacked show coming your way today as we talk about what moves the Warriors are going to make and maybe not make throughout this offseason. And obviously, this franchise is in a really good position, having just won and locked down the 2021-2022 NBA championship, but a lot of big moves that they have to think about making and potentially make. So, according to the San Francisco Chronicle, they discussed some of the decisions that the Warriors are going to have to make throughout the NBA draft, throughout the NBA free agency period, and looking at this roster right now, some big decisions looming for Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Gary Payton II, and Andre Iguodala, all players who we're talking about on today's show. So I want to start off with Jordan Poole. He is an eligible candidate for a contract extension after a breakout third year, still in his early 20s. At times throughout this year, the Warriors really relied on him on the offensive end of the floor, and he was absolutely tremendous, and now he set himself up for a really big payday. I said going into the NBA Finals, he was my X factor for the series because he was one of Golden State's lone players who could put the ball on the floor and create for himself and his teammates, and that's what he was able to do throughout the NBA Finals. And because of that, is he going to get the bag? San Francisco Chronicle with this saying, given that Poole's extension eligibility expires before the start of next year, he is probably the highest priority this offseason for Golden State. The Warriors know that by letting him become a restricted free agent next summer, they would risk having to match a maximum offer from a smaller market team that views him as a potential face of the franchise. But to sign Poole to an extension this summer, Golden State might have to come close to the max. A league source said the Warriors' offer likely needs to start around 4 years and $100 million. Odds are that the two parties will find a number that works for both of them, and I think that's wise. As we continue to unpack everything with Jordan Poole, I want to hear from you once more in the comment section. First, I asked you if you were going to watch our main Chat Sports NBA draft coverage, but now I got to ask you this. Would you give Poole the bag at 4 years, $100 million? Let me know. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Be sure to sound off in the comment section. This will be our pinned comment, so if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, use it to your advantage, scroll on down and get those votes in. As for Poole's breakout year this past year, it was tremendous. And with more minutes, more opportunities to create for himself and others on the offensive end, with more opportunities to put the biscuit in the basket and find twine, his numbers really increased. First 2 years after being that first-round pick out of Michigan, it looked as though he was on that path of being a bust. But keep in mind, Jordan Poole is only 23 years old, as we're about to talk about, and didn't get a lot of opportunities for his first 2 years in the league. As early as last year, right around the All-Star break, he was going back and forth between the NBA level as well as the G League level. This year, he was a primary focus on the offensive end, 30 minutes per game, 18.5 points per, 4 dimes per night, shot nearly 45% from the floor, and with a lot of opportunities, 36.5% from beyond the arc. And moving forward, he is going to be a focal point for this Warriors offense if they want to keep him around. But to keep him around, they're going to have to pay him because other teams in the NBA look at him and they say, okay, he's 23 years old. He's not even entering his prime yet. His best years are still ahead of him. And for some of these other lackluster teams across the NBA that need star power, that need an elite scorer, they say to themselves, okay, we'll give Jordan Poole 20 shot opportunities a night. This guy can average 20, 25 points per game. So that's why the arrow is pointing up for Jordan Poole. That's why he's going to make a lot of money, and that's why if the Warriors wait, they will be competing with other teams across the association to keep him long term. Now, if he ends up signing that contract extension, if the same happens for Andrew Wiggins, or if the Warriors make any move, or if there's a big news item or rumor out there about the Warriors, we have you covered. 79 people left to get to 31,000 subscribers. If we get there by the end of the night, myself, producer Sam Brown, we're going to celebrate. We're going to get that confetti popping. Help us out. 79 more subs to get to 31,000, and we're only going to continue to grow here among the Dub Nation, so just hit that red subscribe button down below. From one really good player in Jordan Poole to another player in Andrew Wiggins, who's still young, and maybe right now he is in his prime. Wiggins emerging for Golden State as a key cog this season on both ends of the floor as an impactful offensive and defensive player, first-time All-Star, and if it wasn't for Steph Curry going off in the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics, it was going to be Andrew Wiggins, who is going to be named NBA Finals MVP. Throughout the Finals, he was, in my opinion, the second-best Warriors player, and going into the final year of his contract, his future in the Bay Area in San Francisco is also somewhat in question. San Francisco Chronicle on Andrew Wiggins. Given that Wiggins is fresh off his first All-Star selection and a memorable showing in the finals, he figures to ask for nothing less than the max, giving him 3 or 4 years beyond next year at around $37 million annually would have huge luxury tax implications for the Warriors. It might behoove Golden State to see how the next 12 or so months unfold before they sign Wiggins to another contract. So Connor Letourneau doing a great job with the San Francisco Chronicle on both Andrew Wiggins as well as Jordan Poole. Now you take a look at what Wiggins was able to do throughout the playoffs, and actually I don't think the numbers really tell the full story because sometimes numbers do lie. In the NBA Finals, he was superb. Throughout the NBA playoffs, in about 35 minutes per night, 16.5 points per game, a very good rebounder. He had a couple of double-doubles throughout the finals round, a steal per night, knocked down about 47% of his shots. But honestly, you see the picture there on the screen? It's Andrew Wiggins against Jason Tatum offensively. I thought it was Wiggins' masterful work and him being a magician on the defensive end against that same guy in Jason Tatum. That was the most impressive feat that he pulled off. Looked as though throughout the finals, he was able to wear down Jason Tatum, lock him down, and I thought he had him flustered at points throughout the finals, both in San Francisco as well as Boston. This is why I always said on Warriors Today, do not trade Andrew Wiggins. He's a perfect complement to what Golden State has with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and once Klay Thompson got back. Now, a lot of you just go headline hunting and you say, this guy always talks about trading Andrew Wiggins. Well, you're looking at the headlines and you're not actually listening to what I said. I've always said Andrew Wiggins, underrated, overpaid, but we saw his value throughout the entire playoff run. This guy is a special player. Is he a number one on a championship team? No. But with the Warriors, he does not have to be, and he, like Jordan Poole, earning himself a lot of cash. Is Andrew Wiggins worth as much cash as getting a max deal? M for max, NM for no max. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. As for Gary Payton, journeyman guard, found a niche with the Warriors this offseason and this season off the bench. And throughout the offseason, remember how he was on the bubble, right? Then he earned himself that roster spot after he was let go, then brought back. Then actually during the regular season and in the playoffs, this guy made a monster impact, basically played 4 or 5 positions for the Warriors at any given time, and was a premier perimeter defender for this team. Once again, it's the San Francisco Chronicle breaking it all down with GP2, the journeyman who I think is actually going to make himself some pretty decent coin this offseason. Given that the Warriors hold his early bird rights and not his full bird rights, they cannot offer him more than about $10.9 million next year. It's possible that after watching Payton play big minutes in the finals, teams with salary cap space are willing to give him a bigger contract than Golden State can extend. But even if that's the case, it's hard to envision any franchise offering him more than $11 million. Now, you look at the numbers here for Gary Payton II. 7 points per game, a steal and a half, shot about 62% from the deck and about 36% from three. Had a couple of big threes throughout the NBA Finals. Of course, got hurt in that second round with that fractured elbow against the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Warriors, I thought, sorely missed him in some of these playoff games where they're going up against some really good wings like a Luka Doncic. But he comes back for the finals, and I thought he played a pivotal role defensively as a guy who can switch, lock down guys one-on-one, and occasionally get out on the leak on the open break and throw down some dunks. I think it's best for Gary Payton II to stay. He's been a journeyman up to this point this past year with the Warriors. And I think it's best for sometimes players to just maybe take a little bit less money, to go to the location, go to the team where you had success because you fit in there. They know how to use you, and that's where you're valued the most. And I think that's really important for a guy like GP2. He could secure the bag and go somewhere else, but his usage might not be the same. His role might not be the same. And he fits perfectly on this roster as a guy who's about the 7th, 8th, 9th man coming in off the bench any given night, as that kind of fluctuates with his role throughout a game-by-game basis. But GP2, I think it's wise for him to come back, and I hope that is actually the case. Lastly on today's show, Andre Iguodala, future NBA basketball Hall of Famer, is going to call it a career after a 4th NBA championship in the Bay Area and a really long and illustrious career as a two-way player. Rumors have swirled about Iguodala considering retirement after this year, especially considering the fact that going into this past year, before locking down another ring, he too said, yeah, this might be my last season as an NBA player. Connor Letourneau on Iguodala has been cryptic about whether he plans to retire, but given how much he struggled to stay on the floor this year, some league sources believe he has played his final NBA game. If he wants to stick with the Warriors as an assistant coach or front office executive, the organization could find him a role. Either way, whether Iggy plays another year or he decides to hang up the sneaks, it's going to be a Hall of Fame career. Remember, it's Basketball Hall of Fame, not NBA Hall of Fame, but either way, Iguodala, as a Basketball Hall of Famer, made an All-Star game, made a couple of all-defensive teams, 4 championships, an NBA Finals MVP back in 2015, and if the Warriors can find him a role as an assistant or as a front office executive, people have raved about his basketball smarts and him getting into that area of expertise in the sport at some point, but he's also really business savvy, so he could look to get into some business ventures as well. I want you to like this video to show Iggy some love on what was and has been a great career. I guess I kind of use past tense there. We'll see if he sticks around, but hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, to show Iggy some love on a great career if he decides to call it quits. And make sure you subscribe. News, rumors, draft profiles, free agency updates, perfect offseason plan. We pushed out that video yesterday, draft targets as well. We do it all. That's why you subscribe. And thank you so much, Dub Nation, for watching today's show.